When I first started pastoring, First Lady Spires, when I first started pastoring, it was very difficult. And I never forget one night, my wife, we lived on Monte Vista and Finkel, and one night my wife went into the kitchen and she looked over in the garbage can, and in the garbage can was my Bible, was my credentials from the National Church, was my blue and gold card. I had threw them all in the garbage. And I had the newspaper at those days, and she came in, cut my TV off, had the nerve to take my remote control, and sat on the coffee table in front of me, and she said, "What are these doing in the garbage?" And I said, "I'm done." I told her, and I can't use the language that I said. I didn't cuss, but I said, "I'm done with them folk. And I'm going to get me a 9 to 5, and I'm going to work." And she sit there and looked, got in my face, and she said, "You mean to tell me that you get ready to quit on a God that brought you out of drug addiction? You getting ready to wash your nets on a God that put your family back together and even considered putting you in ministry?" And when she got through whooping my head, I got my credentials and put them back on the wall and put my blue and gold card back in my pocket. And I've been going at it ever since. But don't look at me funny. I'm not the only one that have had some days when you said, "I'm done. I'm walking away. I'm quitting." Y'all, please sit down. I'm going to be through in a few minutes. Life is not a straight line. But life is like a real good roller coaster. Up and down, around a fast curve, riding on the edge, turning you upside down, looking like you're about to go over the edge. Then it slows down, and when it slows down, you think that it's just about over. And while you're slowing down, all of a sudden, it gathers up steam and takes you on another loop. Failure, and I need you to remember this, failure doesn't define you. That helped me preach tonight. If you help me, I won't be long. Look at somebody and say, failure doesn't define you. What failure does, it resets your focus and it rearranges your priorities. And I come to tell you tonight, loss isn't always bad. When you fail, never give up. And what many pulpits don't tell you, we need to learn how to walk in balance. As people of the Spirit, we need to walk in balance. It's not always mountaintop. It's not always a shout and a dance. Every now and then, we go down. And I remember preaching an anniversary message, and I had to preach. The subject was, sometime you have to preach in the valley. Sometime you got to lead your department in a valley. Sometime you got to lead your home and lead your marriage out of the valley. But when life is hard, never give up. Here's some history. Henry Ford failed and went broke 5 times before he finally succeeded. Beethoven handled the violin awkwardly and preferred playing his own compositions instead of improving his technique. And his teacher called him hopeless as a composer. Colonel Sanders had the construction of a new road put him out of business in 1967. He went to over 1,000 places trying to sell his chicken recipe before he found one buyer that was interested in his 11 herbs and spices. And 7 years later, at the age of 75, Colonel Sanders sold his fried chicken company for a finger-licking $15 billion. Y'all don't hear me when I'm talking. Walt Disney was fired by a newspaper editor for the lack of ideas. And Disney went bankrupt several times before he built Disneyland. I'm trying to tell you, every now and then, you're going to have to face some failure. I'm told that Herschel Walker was a junior in high school and he wanted to play football, but his coach told him he was too small. And he told Herschel, go out for track instead of football. But Herschel never gave up. And only a few years later, Herschel won the Heisman Trophy. Look at somebody and say, never give up. Failure is a part of life. And most people who succeed failed many times before they made it. And the problem in life is that people take failure personal. And they take it too serious, and they never think of new ways to go above the failure. They allow failure to limit them. Tell somebody, don't let failure limit you. I'm just about done with my little Sunday school lesson. Peter and these other men were fishermen, and they had been out all night and had caught nothing. I come tonight to preach to those folk who have been toiling all of 2025, toiling on a job, toiling in a marriage, toiling with children, toiling with health, toiling with your church, toiling with your department, and nothing is breaking for you. And again, these men were expert fishermen and thought they knew everything about fishing in the Sea of Galilee, and they did. But because they caught nothing, they had left their boats and had started to wash their nets. Come on, help me preach again tonight. Tell somebody, don't wash your nets right now. Yeah. Look at somebody else and say, don't wash your nets right now. I need somebody to catch this. I'm almost through, Nick. Listen, watch this. Peter had no intention of going back out on the sea. You need to know that the washing of the nets was a signal that I'm through. I'm done. I've been out all night. I've given another year to this. I've tolerated another year. I've stayed another year. I remained another year. But now I'm leaving. And I'm washing my nets. And when Jesus gets through teaching, he tells them, drop your nets. And when Jesus says drop their nets, Peter makes it very clear that we have fished all night and we haven't caught anything. Jesus, we're through. I don't know who I'm preaching to tonight. There's somebody I'm talking to tonight. You made up in your mind, I'm done. I'm washing my nets. I'm going. I never forget when I first started pastoring First Lady Spires. When I first started pastoring, it was very difficult. And I never forget one night, my wife, we lived on Monte Vista in Finkel, and one night my wife went into the kitchen and she looked over in the garbage can, and in the garbage can was my Bible, was my credentials from the National Church, was my blue and gold card. I had threw them all in the garbage. And I had the newspaper at those days, and she came in, cut my TV off.